Christian Pulisic's mere presence inspires Dortmund to a win over Bayern Munich. Monaco's reserves were allowed onto the pitch, and catastrophe ensued. Javier Mascherano is now only 501 goals behind Leo Messi on Barcelona's all-time scoring charts. The 2018 World Cup will have cameras everywhere, but not in a way that will comfort traveling fans. The US U17s continue to make everyone cautiously optimistic about the 2026 World Cup, and cinema's shortest serial killer is kind of now a champion of CONCACAF. It's Thursday, April 27th, 2017, which means happy birthday to twin brothers Sven and Lars Bender. More on Sven later, but for now, you, my friends, are listening to The Goalmouth, a podcast collaboration between Dirty Tackle, Howler Magazine, and The Total Soccer Show. Up first, Christian Pulisic heroically sat on the bench in Borussia Dortmund's DFB Pokal semi-final match with Bayern Munich, but then came on for the final 10 minutes and was instrumental in helping his team maintain a 3-2 scoreline. Okay, that might be slightly overstating his contribution, but Dortmund did eventually win the match and advance to the cup final, where they will meet Timmy Chandler and Eintracht Frankfurt, who eliminated Borussia Mönchengladbach in a penalty shootout on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Dortmund jumped out to an early lead, but were pegged back by first-half goals from Bayern center-backs Mats Hummels and Javi Martinez. In the second half, Bayern had several clear-cut chances to kill the game off, but their wastefulness was Dortmund's gain, as Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang equalized in the 69th minute. An Ousmane Dembele golazzo, which was preceded by some excellent team build-up play, proved the difference maker. With all that said, the Man of the Match award, in my opinion, goes to the birthday boy, Sven Bender. He had a terrible time against Monaco in the Champions League, but on Wednesday was able to cover an open goal and just barely tip an Arjen Robben shot onto the post. You can find a link to that play in today's Goalmouth email. If it weren't for Bender's big toe, Dortmund would be out of this cup competition. So well done to Sven Bender's big toe, and, I suppose, Sven Bender. More European Cup competition news now. PSG booted Monaco out of the Coupe de France semifinals, crushing their Ligue 1 rivals 5-0. That might seem a bit surprising, given that the two clubs are level on points at the top of the French table. But upon closer review, it's perhaps worth noting that PSG fielded their strongest possible 11, while Monaco rested literally every starter from their Champions League clash with Dortmund. Given that Monaco are currently top of the table on goal difference with 5 league games to play, and have that whole Champions League semi-final thing coming up, I'm going to go ahead and officially rule that Monaco are forgiven for fielding a weakened side. I'm sure their billionaire owner is sitting on his Texas-sized yacht, breathing a sigh of relief. Staying in Europe, Wednesday was a historic day, if your name is Javier Mascherano. That's because the Barcelona defender scored his first ever goal for the Catalan club, for whom he has been playing for the last 7 years. The goal came from the penalty spot and was the 6th for Barcelona as they trounced soon-to-be relegated Osasuna 7-1. Cynicism aside, it was a genuinely happy moment, provided, of course, you aren't an Osasuna fan, in which case it was probably less than ideal. If you haven't seen the footage, the entire stadium, including the players and coaches, well, the Barcelona players and coaches, that is, react as though Mascherano has just scored the goal that won the Champions League, which is notable given that they have actually won the Champions League twice since he transferred from Liverpool. Speaking after the match, Ivan Rakitic noted, quote, "I wanted to take the penalty, but Piqué said to let Mascherano take it, and he's right. You must listen to the president," end quote. Speaking of presidents, FIFA President Gianni Infantino has reportedly stated that video assistant referees will be used for the first time at the 2018 World Cup in Russia. As reported by ESPN, who I guess took a quick break from firing most of their staff in order to file this report, Infantino was speaking at a CONMEBOL event in Chile when he declared, quote, "At the 2018 World Cup, we will have video referees because so far the results are very positive," end quote. If this actually happens, it will be a landmark decision in that it will make it far less likely for blown calls to ruin otherwise excellent games, which is obviously the biggest concern heading into this Russia World Cup. And I mean, if nothing else, the spare cameras could help traveling fans identify exactly which Russian hooligan it was that attacked them from behind in the stands. Silver linings, folks. Silver linings. The US U17s weren't looking for any silver linings, as they outlasted Mexico's U17 national team 4-3 in the U17 CONCACAF Championships. What can I say about this game that hasn't already been neatly summarized by the US Soccer press release? Quote, "The U.S. battled back from an early deficit using a brace from Josh Sargent and second-half strikes from Blaine Ferry and Ayo Akinyola to capture a 4-3 win against arch-rival Mexico in the team's second game of the 2017 CONCACAF U17 Championship. The result marks the USA's first-ever World Cup qualifying victory against Mexico at the U17 level and also ends El Tri's 25-match unbeaten streak in CONCACAF U17 Championship play," end quote. As previously mentioned, the win secures the U.S. a place in the classification stage, which is divided into 2 different 3-team groups. If the U.S. finishes in the top 2 of that group, then they advance to the U17 World Cup. If they win that group, then they advance and have a chance to play in the CONCACAF U17 Championship final. So, to sum up, there are a lot of games still to play, but the US has looked 1, consistent, and 2, very much capable of scoring. That isn't necessarily a thing that often gets said about US national teams, so let's just all rejoice. And finally, Pachuca are your CONCACAF Champions League, well, I guess champions. After drawing 1-1 away to Tigres in the first leg of the final, Pachuca got a 1-0 victory at home, thereby winning their 5th Champions League crown. Franco Yara scored the only goal of the second leg in the 83rd minute, and Hirving Lozano, aka Chucky, received both the Best Young Player Award and the Tournament Golden Boot. 2 important things here. 1, for those who don't know, Lozano got the nickname Chucky because he enjoys hiding under beds in order to scare his teammates, and that's just great. And number 2, Omar Gonzalez started at the heart of Pachuca's defense and can now rightfully be called a champion of CONCACAF. Of course, that was already the case, given that he won the 2013 Gold Cup with the United States, so that makes him double champion of CONCACAF. Not bad for a guy who was forced to dress up as Darth Vader at his official club unveiling. And with that, we've come to the end of yet another Goalmouth episode. You can explore all these stories in more depth by subscribing to our newsletter. The link, as ever, is in the show notes. I've been Taylor Rockwell. Ryan Bailey will be with you tomorrow. Until then, I'll leave you with today's Goalmouth top tip. If you want to be a champion, you need to employ both Chucky and Darth Vader.